Hi, this is Thomas and welcome to another episode of iCollect, where we feature collectors, their collections and the stories behind their collections. Now, what collection are we featuring today? Well, if you grew up in the analog era just like I did, and when listening to music meant reaching out to that piece of vinyl record, play on the turntable, you're in for a treat. Well, today, you're right, we are featuring a collector who collects vinyl records. Now, I'm particularly excited because I myself is a collector of vinyl records, but my collection is nowhere near this collector's collection. So I'm particularly thrilled today to check out his collection. Let's go inside and check it out.
Hi, I'm Dr. Quek, and I collect vinyl records.
Hi, Dr. Quek. Thanks for showing us your massive record collection. I see quite a lot, right? I'm sure you probably know how many records you have. So how many records you have in your possession?
Actually, I've never really sat down and counted it, but my best guess would be in the ballpark of about 4,000.
Okay, that's a lot.
4,000, yes. Yeah. Most of them are here.
Yeah, okay. And some of them may be in storage.
Some of them in storage, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And when did you start?
I was probably about 12 or 13 when I bought my first record.
Do you still have it, your first record?
Of course.
Okay.
The most valuable one.
Okay.
Well, in my opinion, the most valuable one. It's none other than Queen.
Okay.
A Night at the Opera. When Queen first came out, they were sort of quite revolutionary. Now everybody knows Queen, you know, Freddie Mercury and that story and everything. But they were sort of kind of like a glam rock outfit.
Yes.
A lot of very classical motifs in their music, and this is it.
Okay.
Bohemian Rhapsody is in there. So that is that
That's
famous Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, Dr. Quek, in your collection, did you concentrate on, let's say, a particular era of records?
I think in general, the way I collect is based very much on gut feeling. And the music must speak to me first of all.
Okay.
So in other words, if it's a really good record, everybody raves about it, but I don't like the music, I don't collect it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right.
I've always been into vocals. Not
Jazz?
so much classical, but vocals, some of the early vocals. And talking about vocals, you will see that the way that they recorded vocal music, say 40s, 50s and 60s, were very, very different from when they record it now. Back in those days, the music is front and center, the vocal is front and center, everything else is behind, but now everything is mixed into a wall of sound.
Yeah.
So you will hear the difference as we move through from the early 30s, 40s, 50s. You know, I have gramophones, and then we have the mono records, and we have the stereo records. As we move on, the music changes. So, yes, to answer your question, I collect mostly vocal, mostly jazz, popular music, but I do have a lot of stage and screen, folk, classical sounds, jazz, blue notes, you name it. I mean, it's a mixed bag.
As long as the music speaks to you. You know, I understand that a lot of people, when they collect vinyl records, as far as I know, they always go for the usual suspects, the audiophile, the jazz, classical recording, classical music. I understand that you collect something which is very unique, very rare to come by recordings.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have the audiophiles.
Okay.
I mean, I do appreciate them because some of them are very well recorded. The sound quality is very, very good. But for me, what I like is that the media, the sleeves and everything are very reminiscent.
Okay.
I'll show you an example. If you recognize the backdrop to this
this
singer, Anneke Grauwald, Goodwood Park, Goodwood Park Hotel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So she was a Dutch singer, basically very young. She toured Singapore and Malaysia, sang some of the classics, Burung Kakak, Bengawan Solo, So, and then something like this.
This looks very familiar. The street scene.
Smith Street. This was Smith Street probably in the 50s sometime there. And this is P. Ramlee and Saloma. So this is actually a very well, very, very well recorded. Some of his very, very classic music is there.
So I understand that obviously when you buy your records, you collect your records, you buy them some locally, but I'm sure that you buy some of them, or you bought some of them from overseas. So is there a particular country that you think that if you go there, you tend to find really nice, good record?
I mean, locally there's quite a healthy scene of used records. and people generally keep them quite well. There are lots of sort of record shops in Singapore. The online scene is actually quite big as well on eBay, on Discogs, various different sort of platforms where you can actually buy, look for, bid and sell and get records. But every time I travel, I will go. I will look for a record shop. Traditionally, a lot of people like to go to Japan because Japanese collectors are meticulous. They keep their records very, very well.
Like
so when they sell them, they're still in mint condition. But when I go there, I'm always looking out for not so much that they have to be Japanese pressings. Yes, Japanese pressings can be good and they're very good, but many of the Japanese used to keep jazz, old American jazz records, and they kept them so well that some of the pristine pressings are good. So, I mean, Japan is always a very good place to look for records. But yes, both locally and anywhere I travel, I will find records.
Good. So Dr. Quek, with such a huge, massive collection, how do you keep them in mint condition?
Well, I wish they were mint. Many of them are used and maybe a few scratches here and there. You cannot avoid it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But the important thing about records is a few things. Storage, they have to be stored upright,
Of course,
never
yes.
flat,
Yes.
Always stored upright, otherwise you
you
get
walk
ringwear.
them.
And also to ensure that we clean, get rid of the dust and the static. So any collector worth his salt will have a record cleaner. So I've got one here that will clean. So it takes a long time, but definitely worth doing. So it's a vacuum cleaner to actually clear out for all the data, put them in the new record sleeves, ensure that the plastic sleeves are clean, because otherwise mold gets in between. So they do need to go on a rotatory basis to be cleaned every now and then.
Okay.
So if you do it slowly, it's fine. I play one, I clean one, I'll listen to it, and I'll put it away. Then I'll do a batch at a time.
So Dr. Quek, I understand that other than your collection of vinyl records, you also have some really interesting and unique turntables, including, I understand, old vintage gramophone. Tell us about your collection of your turntable.
Well, what's the point of having records if you can't play them? I do have a few turntables. I wouldn't really call it a collection, but they serve my needs. Essentially, I've got a modern turntable over here which has two arms, and I use two arms because one I have fitted with a stereo cartridge, and the other one I fitted with a mono cartridge for earlier records prior to 1960s, 1965. Before that, most of the records in the late 50s and 60s were in mono, which I think produces a very good sound. And then I've got a even older turntable, which is the exact model that I had growing up as a child. This is a Swiss Lenco model, slightly different aesthetic, slightly different type of sound. It also produces a different sound. It's very interesting how just a turntable alone can produce a different sound based on its technology. Okay, so this is a gramophone. This is dating back from 1921. I actually bought it, shipped it in from Berlin in East Germany. It's a sort of wind-up gramophone, purely mechanical, and it plays a very specific type of record that predates the vinyl. So these would be playing shellac records, 78 revolutions per minute. And you talk about shellac records, how they're different from vinyl records. Shellac records are actually breakable, and I think hence the term breaking records. It comes from the term that's break. So this is these are 10-inch records, and they are dating back from probably around the 1940s to early 1950s. So to play them, you need to actually put in a little needle, which is a little stylus, which comes in little boxes like that. The needle needs to sort of sit into the top of the range here, like this. This is a diaphragm, which actually allows the needle to vibrate as it runs across the groove of the record. And then it's a purely mechanical system, so it's like a clock. It winds up with a spring inside, and then once we get it started, it runs like a 78 revolutions per minute. So we start the record, and we basically just drop the arm so that the needle hits the top of the groove.
I hear that
This is the volume control.
From the moment that you came into sight, sentimental music coming out of my brain.
If I want to make it softer, I can just close it down.
Just one look at you and there's that haunting refrain.
This is the softest it will go. And I can control the direction and the volume by opening the doors.
Is it magic? All the music coming from above.
So most of these shellac records will date to a time before vinyl became easily available. And that would have probably around from the 1920s, 30s, 40s onwards. By the 1950s, we started to see the introduction of vinyl records and also different formats, 12-inch, 7-inch, etc. But yeah, and that's the gramophone, 1921, just over 100 years old. Pretty good condition, takes no electricity, purely mechanical.
Thanks for watching this episode of iCollect on Dr. Quek's vinyl collection. We hope you enjoyed watching it, and do give us a like if you like today's episode. As usual, do share our video and subscribe to iCollect. Now, we welcome comment, and if you are a collector yourself and you would like to share your collection and want us to feature your collection, do get in touch with us via this email address listed below. Now, to the next episode of iCollect of another collector, another unique collection. This is Thomas, saying bye-bye for now. Cheers.